Whether overshadowed by bigger releases or underrated by critics, every year great games are overlooked and forgotten. So, I dug through gaming's lost and found to bring you an awesome game you missed each year over the past 10 years. Check out the links to full reviews in the description below, and let's dive in. Kicking things off with a game that you've probably seen but likely never played. Devil's Third is a third-person action shooter developed by Valhalla Game Studios and published by Nintendo, exclusive for the Wii U in 2015. Spearheaded by Ninja Gaiden creator Tomonobu Itagaki, Devil's Third merges fast-paced melee combat with cover-based shooting. You follow Ivan, a heavily tattooed former mercenary who's forced to help the US military take down a terrorist group known as the School of Democracy. The story's a mix of bombastic action and military conspiracy, but the goofy writing and characters, along with the awkward dialogue, make it feel like a B-movie action flick that often takes itself too seriously. The gameplay blends hack-and-slash combat with third-person shooting, allowing you to switch between guns and melee weapons seamlessly. The scenarios are insane, the boss fights are a challenging good time, and the women in this game, mwah, chef's kiss. Now, the game's not perfect. The level design is often uninspired. The enemy encounters are repetitive, and the enemy AI can be frustratingly cheap. The critics absolutely shredded this game. IGN gave it a 3.5 out of 10. Damn, I can't quite figure out why they hated this game so much. Mysteries of the universe, I guess. If you want more mysteries, check out my video covering the most criminally underrated games by IGN. So low scores are naturally going to keep people away, but it didn't help that Devil's Third was exclusive to the Wii U. So the game was only available to me and like 50 other people. There was a surprisingly decent multiplayer mode that also made its way to PC. Though if you want the core game, you'll have to dust off a Wii U. Oh, and probably shell out way too much money for it too. Next up is Titanfall 2. Released in 2016 by Respawn Entertainment, Titanfall 2 remains one of the best first-person shooters of the last decade. Building upon the foundation of its predecessor, the game refined its signature blend of high-speed pilot movement and massive mech combat, while also introducing an incredible single-player campaign. Unlike the first Titanfall, which lacked a traditional story mode, Titanfall 2 has a fantastic single-player campaign that tells the story of Jack Cooper, a rifleman who unexpectedly bonds with a Vanguard-class Titan named BT-7274. Their journey through enemy-controlled territory is filled with creative level design and a genuinely heartfelt bond between pilot and Titan. A real standout is just how much variety there is throughout the campaign. Each mission introduces new gameplay twists, from wall-running puzzles to time travel mechanics, ensuring the experience never feels repetitive. The mission Effect and Cause, which lets you seamlessly shift between two timelines, is widely regarded as one of the best FPS levels ever designed. Few games feel as good to play, with its combination of precise gunplay, fast momentum-based movement, and beefy mix of traditional firearms and futuristic gadgets. And running around in your Titan is nothing short of awesome. On top of that, the game still looks fantastic, even years after its release. Despite its strengths, Titanfall 2 suffered from poor marketing and bad timing. It was sandwiched between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, really hurting its sales. EA, yeah, that EA, expected the game to sell 9 to 10 million copies. So, when it only sold about 4 million copies in its first year, they deemed it a failure. And that's an absolute tragedy, since it likely means we'll never get a sequel. Titanfall 2 is an exceptional shooter that deserved far more success than it received. Its campaign is one of the best in the genre, multiplayer remains a masterclass in movement and combat, and the game as a whole feels polished and just a ton of fun. now to 2017 with Gravity Rush 2. This totally unique action-adventure game was developed by SIE Japan Studio and published by Sony. As the sequel to Gravity Rush, it expands on the original's gravity-defying mechanics, offering a larger open world, more refined gameplay, and a deeper story. The game follows Kat, a gravity-shifting heroine, as she finds herself in a new floating city after being separated from her companion Raven and her gravity-shifting cat, Dusty. The story's more ambitious than the first game, with a larger cast and deeper lore. And the game's comic book-style cutscenes and vibrant world help to bring its unique setting to life. The core of Gravity Rush 2 remains its gravity-shifting mechanics. Kat can manipulate gravity to fall through the air, walk on walls, and execute powerful combat skills.
You know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills.
Well, no. But the sequel introduces 2 new gravity styles that add variety to combat and traversal, making movement feel even more dynamic. The world is significantly larger than the first game, and exploration is rewarding, with hidden side missions, collectibles, and challenges scattered throughout. Visually, Gravity Rush 2 is stunning, with a vibrant, cel-shaded art style that enhances the dreamlike atmosphere. Gravity Rush 2 received positive reviews, but never sold well. Just over a year after its release, Sony shut down the servers, cutting off the multiplayer components of the game. Sure, the game is still playable, but it's a damn shame that the full experience is no longer available. Gravity Rush 2 builds on the strengths of its predecessor, delivering a larger and more ambitious adventure that will have you looking at games from a whole new perspective. Jumping now to 2018 with Genital Jousting. Okay, probably not. But Death End Request is worth checking out if you're into non-genital based combat and dark storytelling. Developed by Compile Heart and published by Idea Factory, Death End Request follows Sheena, a game developer who mysteriously wakes up trapped inside an MMORPG she once worked on but was abandoned. With the help of her real-world colleague, she must uncover the truth behind the game's corruption, escape its world, and survive the dangers lurking within. The story leans heavily into horror and psychological elements, setting it apart from typical JRPGs. The story is filled with shocking twists, disturbing imagery, and brutal death ends, which are bad endings that can abruptly end the game if you make the wrong choices. Now, I love a good turn-based battle system, and this game has a solid one with a unique twist, where you can knock enemies into walls or other characters for additional damage, creating combo opportunities. Another standout is the ability to hack the game's world, to manipulate its parameters or summon real-world programs into the fight. The distinct anime-inspired art style, with well-designed character models and eerie environments, are great, even if it's clear this isn't a AAA production. Death End Request is an ambitious title that flew under the radar for even fans of the genre. Its gripping story, unsettling atmosphere, and creative combat mechanics make it a standout from other Compile Heart games. Check out my full review if you're interested in hearing more.
I won! One more time! I'll handle this!
Leave it to me!
Sometimes you just want to rage. Rage 2, developed by Avalanche Studios in collaboration with id Software and published by Bethesda, is a 2019 open-world first-person shooter that serves as a sequel to 2011's Rage. The game delivers high-octane gunplay, a chaotic post-apocalyptic world, and over-the-top abilities. Set 30 years after the events of Rage, the game follows Walker, the last ranger of Vineland, who must take on the tyrannical authority after they resurface to seize control of the wasteland. The story is serviceable, but the real draw is the world and the combat. The gunplay is tight, fast, and satisfying thanks to id Software's influence. Weapons feel powerful, and Walker's abilities, such as the devastating ground pound Shatter or the kinetic force push, add a layer of creativity to fights. The nanotrite powers allow for a mix of traditional gunplay and superhuman abilities, making combat encounters consistently engaging. There's also a fairly beefy vehicle combat system, though I found it was totally outshined by the more standard on-foot combat. The world itself is visually striking, filled with neon-soaked outposts, dusty wastelands, and mutated creatures. The aesthetic leans into a more colorful, almost comic book-inspired approach compared to the original Rage, standing out from the typical brown and gray post-apocalyptic settings. The reviews were only so-so, generally falling into the 7 out of 10 range, with criticisms about the short length and comparisons to another id Software game. Those middle-of-the-road reviews tend to turn off a lot of gamers, but a tight, fun, and unique shooter sounds pretty awesome these days, even if it's not perfect. Rage 2's fast-paced, adrenaline-fueled combat is some of the best in the genre, offering a satisfying mix of gunplay and abilities, and totally worth raging over. Moving on to 2020 with Immortals Fenyx Rising. Developed by Ubisoft Quebec, Immortals Fenyx Rising is an open-world action-adventure game that blends Greek mythology with humor and a vibrant, stylized art style. The game follows Fenyx, a customizable protagonist who must save the Greek gods from the monstrous titan Typhon. Unlike Ubisoft's more serious games, Immortals embraces a comedic fourth-wall breaking narrative, with Zeus and Prometheus acting as narrators, constantly providing goofy commentary.
I can't! He took my lightning! He took everything! Even the other gods are missing!
The game has a solid mix of exploration, combat, and puzzle solving throughout a vast open world that's divided into different regions, each themed after a specific god. Traversal is one of the game's highlights. Fenyx can climb almost any surface, glide across the skies, and tame mounts, making exploration fluid and rewarding. The combat is surprisingly deep too, with a mix of melee, ranged, and godly abilities. Fenyx can wield a sword for fast attacks, an axe for heavy strikes, or a bow for ranged combat, alongside abilities like launching enemies into the air. The combat system feels fluid, and dodging and parrying adds an extra layer of skill. Because of the seeming inspirations from another open-world game, and real questions about what the game even is after the initial title was changed, a lot of people shied away from checking it out. But I have to tell you, this is one of the most enjoyable adventures in ages, with fun combat, engaging exploration, and a humorous take on Greek mythology. Check out my full review to see why you should play Immortals Fenyx Rising despite its, inspirations.
May the light of 1,000 forges guide your way. Typhon grows stronger by the hour. I swear to you that soldier shall be our salvation.
Now it's up to me to prove it.
Next is The Medium from 2021. Developed by the now celebrated developer Bloober Team, The Medium now seems like the precursor to Silent Hill 2, with its eerie atmosphere, strong psychological narrative, and haunting soundtrack. It successfully delivers a chilling experience. You play as Marianne, a medium with the ability to communicate with spirits and explore the world of the dead. After receiving a mysterious phone call, she's drawn to an abandoned resort called the Niwa Hotel, where she unravels dark secrets connected to her past, and a horrifying entity known as the Maw. The game's story is its strongest element, blending supernatural horror with emotional depth. Themes of trauma, loss, and guilt are central, making it more psychological than outright terrifying. The Medium adopts a fixed camera perspective reminiscent of classic horror games like Silent Hill, reinforcing its cinematic feel. But the standout feature is the dual reality system, where Marianne can exist in both the real world and the spirit world simultaneously. Some puzzles require interacting with both dimensions at the same time, adding a unique twist to exploration and puzzles. While the concept is intriguing, the execution can feel restrictive. There's no combat, though Marianne is occasionally stalked by the Maw, a truly terrifying threat. Visually, the medium is impressive, with detailed environments that create a deeply unsettling atmosphere. The contrast between the decayed real world and the grotesque spirit world is well realized, with disturbing imagery inspired by Polish artist Zdzislaw Beksinski. I really like this game. It doesn't have the depth of Silent Hill 2, but truly what other game does? If you're interested in the medium, check out my full review.
Hello? Are you alright?
Don't look at me!
The early 2020s were a renaissance for horror games, and Signalis from 2022 is a great example. Developed by indie studio Rose Engine, Signalis is a masterfully crafted survival horror game that blends classic genre mechanics with a striking retro-futuristic aesthetic. With its eerie atmosphere, deep storytelling, and satisfying gameplay, Signalis stands out as one of the most compelling horror experiences in recent years. You play as Elster, a replica unit who awakens in a desolate facility, searching for her lost partner. As she navigates the ruins of a totalitarian regime, the game unfolds through cryptic notes, surreal dream sequences, and fragmented memories, leaving you to piece things together. The story is deliberately ambiguous, filled with psychological horror and symbolic imagery that demand interpretation. The oppressive atmosphere is one of Signalis' greatest strengths. The dystopian world, inspired by Cold War-era aesthetics, feels lifeless, yet deeply immersive. The core gameplay is classic survival horror, reminiscent of early Resident Evil, where you manage limited resources, solve environmental puzzles, and carefully engage with enemies due to scarce ammunition. Combat is simple but effective. Elster can use various firearms, but avoiding enemies is often the best strategy. The level design is expertly crafted, with interconnected areas that reward careful exploration. Puzzles are well designed, requiring logical thinking without feeling overly obscure. This is one of those games that won't appeal to everyone based on the visuals alone, but it's a must-play for any fans of survival horror. Moving on to a game from one of my favorite developers. Alan Wake 2, the long-awaited sequel, was developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by Epic Games, which will be important later. The game fully embraces psychological horror while building upon the mystery of the original. Set 13 years after the events of Alan Wake, the game follows two protagonists. Alan Wake, of course, the writer who's lost in the dark place, and new character Saga Anderson, an FBI agent investigating a string of ritualistic murders in Bright Falls. Their stories intertwine in a mind-bending narrative filled with supernatural horror, shifting realities, and Remedy's signature meta-storytelling. Alan Wake 2 departs from the action-heavy approach of its predecessor, shifting to a more survival horror-focused design. Ammo and resources are scarce, encouraging you to be strategic rather than go in guns blazing. The flashlight mechanic returns, requiring you to burn away the darkness before enemies become vulnerable to gunfire. But the combat is now more methodical and intense. Puzzles and environmental storytelling play a bigger role this time, reinforcing the game's psychological horror focus. As has become Remedy's signature, they once again lean into live action sequences, seamlessly blending them into the game's reality-bending narrative in a way that feels innovative rather than gimmicky. Even though Alan Wake 2 was highly anticipated, and the game's fantastic, there were a number of decisions that seriously hurt the game's reach. At launch, the game was digital only, so physical game collectors were left in the dark. and it's still an Epic Game Store exclusive on PC. Yeah, you know how everyone uses Epic Game Store? Anyone? No? However, a physical version launched about a year later, and while we still don't have a date, we know it will eventually come out on other PC storefronts. Let's just hope it's not Ubisoft Connect or some other nonsense. Hey, I'm not counting anything out with some of the baffling decisions they've already made. In 2025, Alan Wake 2 finally turned a profit, and I can't be too surprised. If you like Remedy's signature narrative style and are open to its slow pacing and non-linear storytelling, Alan Wake 2 stands as one of the most ambitious and immersive horror experiences in gaming. Our last game from 2024 is Visions of Mana. Visions of Mana marks the return of the beloved action RPG series, and the first original game after nearly 2 decades. Developed by the now closed Uka Studios, this latest installment seeks to blend the nostalgic charm of its predecessors with modern gameplay innovations. The result is a game that, while not groundbreaking, offers a comforting and engaging experience for both longtime fans and newcomers. The narrative follows Val, a soul guard tasked with protecting his childhood friend, chosen by the fairy as the Alm of Fire. Their journey to the Tree of Mana to rejuvenate the mana flow serves as the central plotline. Visions of Mana returns to the series' action RPG roots, offering a combat system that's both accessible and satisfying. You can customize character classes, allowing for varied playstyles and strategic depth. The game strikes a balance between traditional mechanics and modern quality of life improvements, making exploration and combat feel fresh yet familiar. The world is beautiful, encouraging exploration and rewarding curiosity. Graphically, Visions of Mana is vibrant and colorful, bringing its fantasy world to life. The environments are richly detailed, and the character designs are bursting with personality. Visions of Mana doesn't seek to revolutionize the RPG genre, but instead offers a heartfelt homage to its roots. It's a blend of nostalgic elements and modern enhancements, resulting in a game that feels like JRPG comfort food. Alright, those were some of the games you may have missed over the past decade. What do you think are some other overlooked games? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit like and of course subscribe. And if you want a list of games you need to revisit, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.